let's do our weekly Blade Shambles update because,
Nice.
boy, the
Yeah.
Hollywood Reporter is the one that dropped a major article talking about how essentially Blade, every time they're like, hey, we got a couple projects that are falling behind, they push every project over Blade, and they're like, yeah, Blade, we'll get to you in the next round. And then the next round comes, and they're like, well, Blade, we're going to bump you back a little more.
Well, it's a little bit like weird when this like report came out because like it's originally it was the time period was set in the 1920s, but they changed some things around with if people didn't know, Blade does have a daughter in current comics, but she was born around the current time era, not in the 1920s. So they're trying to do a technical period piece in the 1920s, but then now it supposedly is supposed to be in the modern day. I mean, you could do a period piece with Blade because I think he's like over 200 years old at this point.
Yeah.
But they're trying to set the daughter as well in the 1920s with, I think it was it Dracula's daughter that was Lilith trying to get her blood for some reason.
I thought it sounded cool, to be honest.
I know it did, but it's like really weird with the time periods that they're trying.
I mean, it's not the comics, right? Like,
yeah.
they can do what the hell they want, but
it's kind of fascinating that they clearly got a decent idea here that works, and it's kind of like, it's in the MCU, but we don't have to acknowledge anything. How is that hard to produce?
Well, because now they want Midnight Suns to spin off from it.
Boo!
So they gotta make it modern day, and
I hope they add my favorite Midnight Sun, Daredevil, the Punisher.
Oh,
that one comic cover has.
I was gonna say that one artist on Twitter destroyed Midnight Suns for everyone.
All of it. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. So apparently, this frustration has more or less led to, Blade being like, "All right, Feige, I'm gonna skate on out of here, and I don't even have to do it uphill because nothing's happening with this project." So Ali might just walk away. We're hearing like he's kind of fed up with their BS.
I mean, I would be thinking about it too at this point. They can't establish what.
When I read this article, part of me was, I can't help but feel it's a bit of Ali's fault. Right, like you try to come into this the established way they do things. And it's like, I want to do this. Sure, it's Feige's fault for agreeing to it, right, and announcing it way too soon. But if you try and force something in there, it's not going to work.
Yeah,
it's like you're getting obviously very unfortunate timing as well, right? And doing it can work because kind of Ant-Man came about that way, but Edgar Wright and all that. But I feel like it's not just a one-sided thing. I think the pair of them, if they decide to just call it quits, I wouldn't blame them, to be honest. But
same. I'm kind of like looking at it from this position, right, where we're sitting and we know everything now, and a lot of it's become public. I kind of look at it and I just go, there is a fundamental problem with fitting this film clearly into the MCU, but from their perspective. But then I kind of look at everything they're doing. They're like, hey, you've got the Spotlight brand, and you've explicitly said, hey, yeah, things in Spotlight, yeah, they're in the MCU, but you don't have to watch them. Why don't, my understanding is Blade was kind of going to be treated that way early on, and then they pivoted to everything. It's got to connect to everything. Like, you can make a standalone Blade film that doesn't have to connect to everything, and then just work them in. I mean, I can guarantee you that a lot of people have not watched Werewolf by Night, but that character will show up and they'll be like, cool. Like, Blade is one of the simplest things to sell. Like, infinitely more complex is Doctor Strange or Ant-Man or Guardians or anything. Like, a Blade on paper should be just, oh yeah, there it is, done. But something with this project clearly, I think, is a problem, and I think you're kind of on the right path of, we know that Kevin Feige, when they regained the rights in like 2011, 2012, he was out there singing the praises, being like, "Oh, we're gonna do Blade. I have ideas. We love Blade. It's gonna happen." And then there was the Marvel Studios, Marvel TV conflict, which kind of put a stop in that. And then he gets Blade back fully, but then nothing happens. And it's like, you got an actor who willingly came to you and was like, "Hey, look, this is what I want. Can we do it?" And he was like, "Oh, look at the actor that we got. Of course we're gonna do it." But then you can't do it. Like, there's got to be something more to this that's not out there. There's something more. Like,
there's something more. We're never going to know the true story behind it unless he takes his hat off to reveal his bald head and just like sparks up on stage. But I don't know. So you got to take in Iger into this as well. Like Iger's whole thing about cutting costs and doing this and the output Marvel has, you got to have that in consideration as well. And this, I think Blade's just like the ultimate casualty of everything. But who knows?
Yeah,
I wanted everything done with a shoestring budget.
Pretty much, yeah. Which I don't know why Blade would need anything more. It's Blade. But hey, here we are.
I think it can be done, but I think it was like if the original like time era they wanted was 1920s, they could see if they wanted to do something with that more than.
It's like they built a set for it.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that's not going to get used now, but unless they can put it in another movie, but who knows? Blade should be easy to do. There's obviously something going on here that's making it difficult.
Yeah.
I don't want to put it all on fuck. If I get some crap in a minute as it is, like he's already in the shambles, like he can't be any worse. But I don't know, something's definitely not right, and that we don't know about.
It's
but then again, they got the I can't remember his name, who's writing or who wrote Fantastic Four and something else recently to be on Blade. So maybe now's the one that's actually gonna go through. I don't know.
Maybe there's some glimmer of hope in the distance, but it's quickly fading.
Yeah. Still, I think this film, for at least for the 12 people on Twitter, is kind of dead at this point. Like, there's no way it can be good after everything.
I have lost all hope for this. My hope is right now is that they don't make this, because if they can't figure it out now, I'm afraid of what they're going to try to rush out with the different scripts and takes on it. Because, like, if they use any element of the first script from like 3 directors ago, right? They got to acknowledge it, and then that person's got to get a payout. So they're going to try to scrap all that to not have to do. So whatever this film morphs into, it's going to have to be something all original that anybody who's pitched anything in the last 5 years can get credit for, because they got to try to shut down or keep down costs and royalties. It's going to be a disaster, and Disney, like every other company, has to pay it out. Like, there's people on like TikTok that contributed something to Star Wars, and they're like, "Hey, check this out. I got my quarterly earnings from the Disney theme park because they used a bolt I made for Rogue One. I got $97 in the last 3 months for this bolt." And it's like, it's down to the weeds to that level where I have a feeling Disney's just going to cut costs with this and go, "We're too far gone, and it's never going to recoup how much we spent on this thing,"
Yeah, because I was like having an idea for them just using like the adaptation of like the current Blade run, but even then it would be run at CG cost, because the main villain there is like an elder god at this point in time, where you also have vampires, werewolves, and any other dark fantasy creatures trying to have a foothold with the current state of Earth.
And if you guys remember, a couple drafts ago, Dracula got shoved into that. It's like, you're creatively bankrupt if you use Dracula. That's how I know you're done. Like, that's literally we've done and exhausted every idea we have. Add Dracula in. Nope, that's I don't care anymore. Like, Dracula is within himself, and that whole lore and all that, that's fascinating. But that's how you know you hit a brick wall, and you're just like, toss the towel in, just throw Dracula in because Blade 3 did it. Like, that's literally what you're done. So
like sure, like Blade's got to fight Dracula at some point. Like, that's kind of the end goal.
I mean,
yeah, exactly.
I mean,
don't do it first.
Like they don't technically they don't even need to use Dracula. They could use forgot the character, but they phrase it as Blade's other father, his vampiric father who turned his mother.
Yeah,
Isn't that Dracula?
No. Not.
So do we go back to Blade? Or just remake Blade 1 with Deacon Frost? Just do that.
Yeah. It's so weird because with the current lore is that Blade's mother got attacked by a vampire and in turn turned him when he was still in his mother, and that's how he became a Daywalker.
Just take Blade 1, right? Fake Ollie's face in there, and then do the third act, but fix the CG, which they had no time in the 90s with the Blood God, and there you go. That's your movie. That's it. Just do that.
I mean, why not at this point, right?
Oh, man.
Because like you guys said, like Blade is not that hard to do. You can either have him hunt vampires or hunt some other magical creature.
Mm-hmm.
It's really not that hard
at all. At all. But
I have more faith in this movie though than Captain America.
Same. Yeah.
Because at least this one hasn't actually shot anything, so there's always a chance that what they end up shooting is good off the bat.
It's not literally like last year. They did the initial shoot for Captain America 2 years ago, and then last year they reshot for close to 5 months, and now this year they're reshooting another 4. It's like, Jesus Christ, what is happening? Like, what are you doing?
Like, that movie's going to be a patchwork of just awful. But...
yeah, yeah.
If it's good, then fair play. But
yeah,
I'm not expecting it.
But I ain't trusting it. That's So we'll see, I guess. But for now, we're gonna just leave Blade in the dust and jump onto something else because.
Oh, like Feige. Cool.
Yeah, but like
and
Feige.
his hairline.
No, that's a good one. That's a